Call to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nikki, would you be so kind as to do the roll call?
I'd be happy to wait.
Thank you.
Mr. Welper. Here. Eric Morgan is absent. Here.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Number 4, agenda adjustments and approval. We'll move those to the end of the action items then, maybe, or do you want to do, we'll move those to the end.
We'll go to the end for the action items, and then there is one additional
Yeah, I'm moving to
right up here. Move the technical updates from
move
consent
technical
agenda.
updates from the policies, that's item 12K on the consent agenda to an action item without changes to school-specific data, please.
Tech updates. All right. Announcements.
Did you need a second?
I don't know if I need a second on it because we'll do it on the action. Any announcements? Okay, hearing no announcements. For community input tonight, we have Sarah Reese. You
Hi.
can move up closer, if you
Okay,
like, Sarah.
great.
Thank you.
My name is Sarah Reese. I'm an educator at the elementary school. I'm also a parent in the school district. I'm here tonight to speak for the elementary, at least a voice from the elementary staff. Notice that many of us are here. We have some very strong concerns about the elementary school at the present state. We have a lot of behavior issues, and we started at a staff meeting today to start talking about ways we can make that better. But one of the things that really came out at our staff meeting today, and something that we've talked about as staff throughout this year, is we're very concerned about class size. I was here 4 or 5 years ago, right before COVID, a couple years before COVID, and the board at that point, took some steps in us becoming a 4-section elementary school. And that was prior to the building of the new school. And some of the planning in that new school building was for a 4-section elementary school. I understand there's budgetary issues. I get that. But I have to tell you that many of the programs and the things we were able to do when we had a 4-section school have not been able to happen in the recent years. We also know that we had COVID that fell in there, and we are recovering from that. The behaviors of our students are extreme. And it's not just like severe high ones, right? It is a consistent across the board in every classroom. The lack of focus, the lack of attention, the lack of being able to be a learner. So many of our elementary teachers are spending our time on behaviors and not on academics. That is a short sight for us, right? We feel really awful about that. We spend our days managing behavior instead of teaching our students what they need to know in academics. So again, we talked at staff today. That was a piece, we were asked to bring data to Jeff and present data about each of our grade levels and the needs of our grade levels. I'm not sure how that will be shared with you. I don't know where that's gonna go, but I will tell you that we were asked for class size. We were asked for office managed behaviors. We were asked for classroom managed behaviors. We were asked for how many students are in title, access, special education, and our numbers are high. The classroom managed behaviors, just so you know, and again, I'm not sure if the document will be shared or not, but they're in the thousands. They're in the thousands, okay? So, and what that means is, it's not just you're learning, stop. That is a redirect, a reteach. And we're doing that on average 8 to 15 times a day in every classroom. And if you multiply that by 122 days, that's a whole lot of time that we are spending on behaviors. Now, nothing is a magic bullet that's going to fix that, but when you have 3 sections for the 70 kids. I know you'll say, oh, 24 is not a big deal. It is. It is. When you multiply that, we were talking about fractions in 3rd grade right now, and the denominator gets bigger, the amount of time I can spend with the kid is less. It's just mathematical, okay? We need to put some value into our lowest grade levels in our district, okay? We always get the kindergarten numbers. Do you have enough kindergartners to have 4 sections? Yeah, we do. Whatever we have needs to be 4 sections. And I know that they don't have as much money as a senior that's leaving, but if we don't put our money in that primary, and our elementary school is a primary school, if we don't put our money in there, we are not going to see the benefits in middle school and high school. So I'm asking, and I'm coming as just a citizen and a teacher and a parent, we have to put our money where our mouth is. We have to help these young students. We are busting our rear ends every day, but we have young teachers that are here that are wonderful, wonderful teachers, and we are going to lose them. We are going to lose them. So I just come to you, I plead with you, and I know middle school and high school have issues as well, and don't get me wrong, we have issues everywhere, but if we don't focus on our youngest learners and give them what they need, we are going to continue to have this problem in our district forever. So we just come to you, and we're here. We want you to hear us. We need help. What we found today, and we looked in our building leadership team, we, of our 5, K1, 2, 3, 4, we believe 4th grade would be okay in 3 sections. But we are strongly, with the data that we have, we need 4 sections K, 4 sections first, 4 sections second, and 4 sections third. Without them, I don't know what next year will look like. And I'm this year, with the way things have gone, teachers are ready to leave. I'm here for the long haul because I've committed to this district, but other teachers haven't. And if we don't give them what they need, we will not have a successful elementary school. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. I think that was it for community input. Student board member report.
All right, I have a few things. So first, we have the Lancer Weekly that Terry's not here today, but his community leadership has recently started over the past month. I think they've set up 3 videos now, and it's replacing. We used to have Kate and Coach in the morning as like our Lancer when I do the sports rundown and stuff, and that's really well received by the students. Everyone's super excited whenever they see it pop up on Instagram or Facebook, and it's all spreading throughout the school, and everyone's really enjoying it. Last one, they interviewed Adam's Family cast. They had 4 of their main cast members there, and also Sage Management, and that was really cool because then I don't know much about theater, so it was really cool getting to learn about the process of that as someone who's not involved in that. But just bringing in people from all sorts of sports and stuff like that is really cool. Another thing we have going on in the high school, we have March Madness. That student council runs where students get to fill out a bracket they put in, and then first, second, and third, they're going to win like a small cash amount for a gift card somewhere, and then the rest will get through 10th place will get like a free a la carte item, which students always really enjoy. And then also we have the job shadowing, career readiness. Miss Tanky is doing a really great job with that, at least on the senior end of it. I don't know what that looks like for the lower classmen, but I can speak for the seniors. She's been doing a really great job coming in on Thursdays to our human geography classes and making sure we're prepared for that. And then the last one is just the mental health day that we have on April 9th. I think it would be good for the teachers to maybe explain to the students because we're getting emails about it, but a lot of people that I've heard from are kind of iffy on it. They're like, do we go to school that day? Do we just have our parents' calls out? Because they get what they're hearing is, oh, we're going to have to sit and listen to a speaker for like 4 hours in the middle of the day or during the morning. I don't think they know that there's really going to be that movie or that documentary in there about it. So I think having some of the teachers talk to their classes like, okay, so there's some confusion going on. Here's what we're actually going to be doing that day. I think that would help with some clarification and get students more like involved in that. But that's what I have to say.
Great update. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm taking it you heard that suggestion. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. All right. Any other questions? Okay. Board member reports. We can start with Darcy.
I have nothing to report.
Fantastic. Vicki.
I just wanted to touch quick. MREA had sent out an email just to kind of coattail on what Sarah had brought to the board today. They're asking for feedback. They want specific feedback for legislation because some of the cuts that are being proposed and currently in executive orders been signed are going to directly affect things that she's talking about. So I implore board members, community, to have access to that. Is there a way we can maybe push that out somehow to, as an optional something that people can
Are you
maybe
talking about
make
the
their voice heard?
actual email that talks about what's being cut, or?
Right, and
the
there's that
canvases?
survey at the end.
Okay.
I did complete that survey, it is very open-ended. I just am saying to whoever's interested to help give a voice to that because they need to hear it.
And as I've said before, and said board members, it is incredibly important that you not only vote and put legislators in, but that you then follow up and make sure that they know what it is that you need or want. What do we need for La Crescent-Holka? What do we need for what's going, what we're doing? Not to send a panic, but the governor's budget, and I sent this out, and I think Nikki sent it out to some of the people on the negotiating team, is planning on cutting 2 coming up. So that's huge. There are several other pieces that are coming through that are gonna directly impact bottom lines. If you look through my board report here, I've got some estimates, and Julie and I are working on other ones to go through for the underfunded and unfunded mandates that have come through in the last couple of legislative sessions. So what you're saying, Nikki, is incredibly important.
Yeah, it doesn't just affect our schools and what's happening within our schools, it affects the communities that are funding our schools as well. I think the last thing we need are referendums and more levy. That's gonna kill our communities.
Thank you.
Yep.
Danny? Paige?
Yes, I went to the district-wide staff development meeting and just, it was talking about supporting letters, training. And Amanda Nicolati we chatted today and she gave me this information. Creating a clear and more uniform process for requesting district-wide staff development funds for PD. Figuring out how to work through the glitches with Frontline, working with our BLTs to meet the goals on our strategic plan, and planning how to utilize our PD days and work on the strategic plan throughout the school year, when so many of our staff are doing letters training. So that was from that meeting, and then I want another one. Can I get that up too? I got to find it. This one was Judy Beeson said to ask you, Mr. Feldman, make sure if I leave something out, if you have anything to add. She said there's only 4 people left to renew by June. Should be ready. 2 were working on it and they should be ready by May. 1 is closed but hasn't responded back. She will have a plan in place to approve the final hours for the May meeting. And anything
We're looking at potentially
going,
shifting formats next year.
right, getting rid of
Make it a little more
Frontline.
accessible for teachers to check, where am I at my hours, how many do I have left? So we don't have a clear answer yet on what that will look like, but we're gonna.
Anything else? Okay. Brandon?
Nothing to report.
Okay. I have a couple things. I met with Senator Carla Nelson just to express to her about the different challenges we have here in the unfunded mandates, which is not even the cut in funding, it's just the continued costs that are being put on the districts. That it's great that they have these ideas, they need to pay for it. That was part of it. She agreed they're going to be working the best to hopefully, she seemed to be a good champion of education. So hopefully that would continue. We have our applicants for the superintendent position. We have 13 applicants. I think I can say it. I think they're from 3 different states. We have a wide, diverse background of people. We'll have to refer to them by letters. No one has a name yet, so if you understand, that's just what we have to do with that. We just got those today, and we'll be reviewing them all weekend. At least I started. Will be a long process. The good news is we have 13 applicants, which is better than 8, and so we hopefully will be able to make a very good choice. 4 what?
I think it's 4 states.
4 states. See, I haven't got through all of them yet. So 4 different states. So we went national almost on this. So that's what we'll be doing for that. That is my update. Any questions for me? Good. All right. Administrative reports. High school principal. What do you have, Jacob?
Yeah, I had to reread it. It's been a while since I wrote it. With weather pushing us back a week and everything else, but try to be quick because I know we got a long agenda. So kind of key things that are going on. One thing that we're trying to do a little bit more of since our last meeting is trying to do a little bit more of building school spirit. This is something that community leadership group as well as student council and student advisory and everyone's kind of been throwing their hat in to try and figure out ways that we can do this. One thing that we want to start doing is having a seasonal pep fest. So typically we've done them for homecoming, and that's kind of about it. So trying to do seasonal, we did have a winter one. When was that? End of February? Yeah. Okay. So, and that was kind of highlighted by a few pies to the face at the very end of it. So there are some pictures way down at the end of the report if you kind of want to see a few people with some pie on their face. But so I did like the minion spot. So I don't know who picked that out. That was perfect for you. So. But that was something that we're looking at doing, as well as Ray mentioned the Lancer Minute, or not Lancer Minute, the
Lancer
Lancer
Weekly.
Weekly, yes.
Previous
I know. So doing things like that to, again, try and build a little bit more spirit. That's something that isn't going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen, all of a sudden, months from now, we're perfect, but something that we are putting some focus on. So next item on there, we got a lot of planning of stuff going on. We have a very, very busy April and then heading into May. We have MCA testing, we have our Mental Health and Wellness Day, we have the April 22nd, which includes ACT, MCAs, and a lot of job shadowing that's going on there. And that leads directly into all the AP testing and then graduation. So it becomes very quick and there's a lot of stuff. So a lot of planning and everything else going into that. We have the Mental Health and Wellness Day has been very well received from families. I've had families explicitly reach out just to say thank you for doing this, thank you for putting a focus on this important topic, and I've had 0 phone calls or emails from parents expressing concerns. So I think that's huge that I've had, now almost double-digit parents reaching out just to say, hey, we're really happy you're doing this. So very excited for that, which is coming up 2 weeks from today. And then for this month's spotlight, putting a little focus on our student support services team at the high school level. So this is a group that I don't know if people realize that we meet multiple times a month. Sit down and talk about who are students who are potentially struggling, who are ones that are starting to show a decline, what can we do to help turn that around. Whether that is, hey, they just need someone to talk to for a little bit. We might need to pull them into Lance of Success, which is a program that we have for students who do need a little bit of extra support, kind of a tier 2 intervention. So this team kind of meets, decides what's going to help. Is this something where we need to go out and visit home because there's some stuff going on at home, and that Kate Madison, our social worker, might be the person who would go out. But this is a group that does a lot of stuff behind the scenes to kind of be that safety net for kids who really, really need it. And on top of that, they do a whole lot of other stuff. This is the group that helps run the Lancer Locker. This is the group that, helps build up those kids who just really don't have anyone else. They do a lot of, like I said, just behind the scenes work, and I really appreciate all the work they do. So it's Leah Tankey, Kate Madison, Tamita Hazel, and Susan Meyer. I have 4 people who meet with me quite a bit to get all this done. So thank you to them. And that's it, unless you want to show the pictures again.
Thank you, Jacob, and
Yeah.
thank you to the staff.
Any questions?
I have a couple.
Grant.
What are you mentioned in your report that there's a high opt-out rate for the MCA testing.
Yes.
What do we do to encourage them to take it, if anything? And why would a student want to opt out of taking the test other than just I don't want to take the test?
So a lot of what we hear at the high school from students is somewhere along the way from middle school to high school, we found out that it doesn't actually affect our grades in school or attendance or anything like that if we get called out. It's just for statistics. So the motto that a lot of students use is, oh, it doesn't really matter. I'm either gonna get like opt out, like parents sign something, or I'm just gonna click through as fast as I can. Like, it's come to a point where there has been competitions between students to see who can get through the MCA the fastest, because it's just, when they found that out, I think we were in like 8th grade is usually when you find that out, and you're like, oh, well, I don't even have to try. That's a very heavy mindset for the student, so I don't know what to do to maybe help with that, or give an incentive, or something to get students to keep taking it, but that's what a lot of perspective from the student body is on that.
I would say that's a pretty accurate, not all of them, but
Yeah,
there's a fair number that feel that.
So what are we doing?
You encourage them, you talk about why it's important to the school, that's something that typically comes up in classes, that, hey, you know, this number is important for these reasons.
Because I guess the reason I ask is like one of the things, and I've talked to many about this, is that our score is like significantly below state average. And we have competition for, you know, choices for our students to go to. And if I'm an incoming parent and I see that,
Right.
I'm gonna be like, what's going on
And you
there?
don't get to see.
Correct, yeah.
30%.
So, yeah, so that's just, I was just curious, like, what were some of the things that we were doing to encourage them to take it?
Yeah, and we have teachers who we hopefully have relationships with, and we're getting that discussion that, hey, you're gonna have the CA test next week, here's why it's important to our district, here's why it's hopefully important to you. It's an opportunity for you to show. We talked about that, you know, if you're someone who's gonna take the ACT, this is a great opportunity for you to practice sophomore year and junior year. At a standardized test, you have those test taking skills. If I need to sit and be focused for an extended period of time, it'll also kind of shine a light on, hey, I really don't know this part as well as I thought I did. So you can look at it as that ACT prep and ACT practice, which hopefully catches a few more. But I mean, it is an interesting dilemma that most of the ones who opted out last year were in our English math class.
This is gonna make me seem really stupid when I ask this question, but are all MCA tests optional? So,
Parents can sign an opt out form.
so like, my first grader could opt out?
First grade doesn't take it, it starts in third.
So,
So if you sign, yes,
It
it's
seems to me if it's a parent-driven required event, then we need to send education to parents.
Yeah.
And I think whether it be a 411 of MCAs or whatever it is, so they understand this is affecting our enrollment, it's affecting families moving to our area, it's affecting businesses, it's affecting our funding.
Bringing the teachers in.
It's affecting our funding.
what's the opt-out percentage for, you said third grade? What's the opt-out?
Relatively low compared to what you're hearing here.
And keep in mind, some of these are special ed students. They're offered to take the MTS, which is a modified, but it's a low number, I think.
Yeah, I think
Less than 1%.
education sounds like it's a more parent
Mhm.
issue.
In all of fourth grade, we only have one student who's opted out. Just
That's good.
So then, and because I'm in it, so then in here you also say, it's not, you know, we have other ways to show our, you know, indication of how we're, what are those other ways that we show how we're doing in 11th grade for that?
As far as like our student progress,
Uh-huh.
well, I mean, we monitor that in our classes.
Just look at our
classes.
But there's no, like-
You have the ACT
Okay.
as far as not everyone.
What
takes
percentage
it.
of students take the ACT?
This year it'll be close to 60.
And what's the percentage that opt out?
Of the
MCA.
MCA. Last year we had about 30% of our juniors opt out. So that's 30% of the school meet as far as our
Sure,
score.
yeah.
Is that normal or is that
Yeah.
baseline? I guess I don't know where that
It
sits
was
Are
higher
those the
than
statewide.
same
normal.
people?
It's higher than normal.
Last year was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like are those that opt out of the MCA the same that don't take the ACT?
No, it's the
Just
exact opposite curve usually.
Yeah, you
The
mentioned
vast majority of our
honors math,
students who opted out of the
almost all
MCA.
of them opted out.
I would say even in our suburban districts in the metro area, the same trend. And they're seeing dips in their scores too for the same reason. I was, a few years ago, had looked back and I looked back at every single student that opted out in high school. And it was students that met or exceeds expectations, in middle school that just opted out in high school. And there is a correlation between the MCA score and ACT. And now colleges are starting to implement that expectation now, that with or SAT or ACT is now coming back to being an expectation for admissions in college, which should help.
So to back up a bit, you said we get a 0. We don't get a 0 for the score, which is that we don't get an average. That doesn't get
It
average.
counts against you.
Why the hell would they do it that way?
That's because they want to have the data. You're asking the wrong people.
So even if somebody, and so we would prefer somebody just picks B and go down the road than opt out.
Correct.
Well, that's okay. Well, I think we have a new strategic goal for our next planning thing here. Let's just leave it at that. Go ahead.
No, I just was curious, like, is it legal to incentivize?
I always like a conversation that starts that way. Keep going. You're cooking. Go.
Is it legal to incentivize testing? Can we put them in drawings? Can we?
It's their right. It's a parent's right, just like.
Well, I don't think that was a question. Can we incentivize? Is not,
Not
Free
really.
coffee, free
donuts?
I mean,
Breakfast. People have tried.
now it's free breakfast. We used to offer free breakfast when I was in the previous district before MCA testing, but now everyone gets free breakfast.
Well, there's a lot of people over there listening to us with ideas too,
Well, I
so
think
let us
we
know
should-
what you feel down the road, all right?
What if we just still say it's free breakfast? Start off.
Is it during the school day or is it?
Why don't we have them make
Well, you know what you could do? You do
Yeah.
it.
Oh, here's somebody, I really want to hear your
So
opinion.
the past 2 weeks, everyone found out that on the lunch calendar, it's mini waffles. That's gonna be there. So you could do something like that, because that's reminiscent of our elementary school days, and they don't offer that in the high school lot. So every day in English class, people are talking about, hey, what's for lunch? I don't know, but Friday it's mini waffles. So you could do something like
Mini
a
waffles on
special
this day.
breakfast like that.
Pick a menu or have them pick a dish.
You just won the award of the meeting, so thank you. Mini waffles would be our solution to this problem, but,
No, I mean, the MCA is a part of my community.
okay. So I think just to, Brandon, this was a really good point you brought up there. So, thank you for that. I think it is something we should build in for like when we're looking at strategic things moving forward, because this is really, and I'd like to get some data. I think the board would like more data on other districts and where we're falling, maybe.
And who do we talk to look at revamping it? Because I know as a fifth grade student, my son is not gonna, I know they get breaks, I know they get treats, whatever throughout the day. He's not, like, they are not accustomed to sitting and looking at black and white and just answering questions. They need, like, I'm not gonna lie, he looks at a cell phone and that's where kids are at this point. So it's like bringing them to what's relevant to them.
Right.
Where just sitting here looking at a screen all day pressing buttons is not conducive to a.
Maybe they have movies or something on there.
And then
Do
the
they do any of
legislative
that now?
requirement.
Extra recess time that day, or, we don't go back and require a lot that day. Right.
But I think it's overall selling it. So I think what Nikki's saying is, what can't we do? What can we do? And Danny's, can we do some things differently? What falls in those parameters of the rules?
And I know it's a state level thing, but like, who can I reach out to as a parent, a community member, to say, like, this is potentially, because I know it's a big thing right now. I mean, I was just watching something on TV about test scores and how the Midwest has the highest test scores and how do we keep that? And I feel like,
State legislative.
yeah,
So you just had that meeting. I think we need to counter back here and be like,
Carla?
okay, you should not get a 0.
My problem is I now I want to get in the weeds and that's a problem. Can I ask you guys a question?
Brandon wants to ask the crowd a question.
Well, so for years I've been saying that when we had proctors, I felt the kids were more focused because they recognized the seriousness of it. And if I could tell them to do something else, Stephanie's telling me to do something again. But if we had someone else, and I'd even talk to third grade about switching classrooms, like So then, if Mrs. Siebel comes in, or somebody they're not super familiar with, sits in front of them, talks about the seriousness of it, they see the difference, because we're all having them do something in the Chromebooks. It just becomes like, here we go again. So I like the idea, and this was probably 15 years ago when we had proctors, that, and got them out of the classroom, got them out of that. They sat in a room, they felt the seriousness of it, and the person they don't know very well standing in front of them. And I felt like that level of effort was greater than what I currently see when they're sitting in their own seats, they got their own Chromebook. It's almost like they want to kick their feet up and just rip through it, right? That was an idea I came up with every year for the last 15 years. So I do it every, anyway. But that's a thought that I have.
Okay. I think it's a very good thought.
I agree with Brian.
Okay. All right. Brandon, back to you.
Do you guys get those results on an individual student basis?
The next year.
Oh.
Fastbridge is quick.
Well,
Okay.
we can see them at the end of the year. We can see if a kid meets, exceeds, but we don't really get much more than that till the following fall.
Yeah, that would, so then, do you guys pass that out to the next grade and do you use that in how you target student assessment and stuff, or is it just kind of like?
I wouldn't say we use MCAs for targeting students, we use MCA more for curriculum. We use our Fastbridge for targeting
Okay.
students.
That makes sense.
Fastbridge, you do multiple times a year.
Yeah.
It's really immense.
Just FYI for the board, all of that data is embargoed until it's released by the governor at the state fair.
So I guess what
Commissioner at the
I'm
state fair.
going to.
So we can't go into any detail to look at things or even to use it to plan.
So then why don't we just encourage everybody to opt out?
Because
Yeah.
they have big data.
Yeah.
I will tell you that my kids' district, they did, but they got in trouble. I mean, it was like,
Well, they were.
'Cause they're
directly
about-
mailing the opt-out
Yes,
notification
to everybody.
themselves.
because they believed it, they believe in
Well, it just seems like,
graduation, which again,
it's just, I think the more,
they're more than intentional. There's philosophical differences, but it's one of those pieces, which is why we say there's multiple data points that, because of the reasons of all of this, it really is a curriculum alignment. And Fastbridge is more of an indicator of how our students are doing. And Minnesota does have higher academic standards than national learning test as
Right.
well. So therefore, the MCAs, we're constantly looking at standards and how to make sure that we're teaching what is expected at the state level.
Yeah.
So I think everyone is still, like, we just pretend like COVID didn't exist either. And we're still dealing with higher students at that tier 2 range. And money was, here you go, fix it. Now we're gonna take it away. And so we're all teachers. Teachers are really the ones that are trying to really meet their needs, and which is why there's more behaviors, because kids are coming. That's okay. Now I'm in the weeds, so it's
yeah, I'm sorry.
but it is one of those things that we are looking at and trying
I-
to communicate and encouraging parents not to opt out, because it does matter. We want to know if our new middle school curriculum is working in ELA
Sure.
in the next 3 years. They could dip again because we're implementing a new curriculum.
So I think the analysis is what you said, we just need to advocate that we don't get zeroed out.
At the state.
Yeah, at the state level, which I mean is harder.
Yeah, MRE has good lobbyists and legislators in place, so that would be where I'd go to their website if you need MRE thing.
Okay.
And MRE does a Tuesday advocacy program early in the morning where you can find out, Sam Walseth is the lobbyist that speaks to that. They usually have them recorded too, so you can watch them later.
Their meetings are great.
Any other questions? Middle school update.
I will be brief.
That's what he said.
I mean it. So I like to, anytime, as you know, I think parents that are on the board as well, just put a shout out to our staff and how hard they work each and every day. As well as point out that our PBIS team doesn't just focus on students. They focus on what are ways that we can celebrate and appreciate our staff. And so just a couple of those highlights. Our PBIS team implemented a St. Patrick's Day, our school is lucky to have you messages. And every staff member received a note today at the staff meeting that 4 other staff members commented on what they appreciated about the other staff member. And just to see that, just a little bit of appreciation from colleagues for what they do for each other, because I can't say enough, as a teacher last year, how much our staff really does help each other and pull each other through as well. Also, Mr. Learkey and some of the other staff have implemented a Minnesota Nice Award for staff. We do that for students, but they also have students select staff members that exemplify the Minnesota Nice component too. So that is just some great things that they do to support the positive culture at the middle school. Also, Christy and Mark Malton this year have reached out and asked if they could do some things to just do a little pick me up as community members, and came around with a cart and brought treats and coffee to our staff. So it was just kind of fun and a nice little way for them to give back, that we're like, come on in, whatever we can to help them and give them a little perk to start the day. And then our family connections, we are excited about our May 12th. We have now named it, instead of spring fling, apparently that wasn't necessarily the right title, but an evening with the Lancers. It's really part of our 8th grade servant leadership focus, but the 8th graders are going to be leading different booths that night. It'll be held after school, and we're encouraging all elementary and middle school families to come and enjoy the night, have ice cream, and just create some community for our families from elementary through the middle school. And then the 5th graders are going to be coming over on April 24th. Lisa and John are really, again, coming up with some great plans and working together to make it a memorable day for our 5th graders, or incoming 5th graders, to get familiar with the building. And again, our older kids they come back from the elementary school and are just partnering up with our classroom teachers there, and it's just so great to hear their reflections and hear the 8th grade team talk about how wonderful they did with the younger kids. And some of our kids that struggle a little bit here behaviorally, they just beg to be able to be a part of it, because it just allows them that piece of empathy in working with the younger kids. So I can't say enough about our 8th grade team and our elementary team and Mr. Kopp for going along with that and seeing that value. And then we're up again. I'm not going to bring up MCA testing, but we're getting there. That was in my report. And then we also want to thank the elementary. Wendy Scott is an interventionist. We were seeing that some of our kids were not making progress, and due to the rules and access, the elementary Wendy is coming over 1 day a week to help service some of our students that fall into the category that would meet the requirement for meeting some more at-risk need of intervention. And we just appreciate that and wanted to extend that to the elementary folks too, for that, and to Wendy. But aside from that, for April 9th, our 5th and 6th grade teams just met today after our staff meeting in regards to what they will be doing on the afternoon of Aiden's Light, because I know some board members had asked about what 5th and 6th graders are doing, and they are going to spend the afternoon watching Inside Out, and then having some conversation just about feelings, emotions, and mindfulness and wellness activities with their advisories after that. So, any questions?
I had a question. I just wanted to touch and see if you have, if you wanted to mention anything about subs. You had talked about subs, needing subs in middle school.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anybody, everybody, board members, sign up. Teachers on call. I think all of us know that we need subs everywhere, because teachers truly are, and I mentioned that in my parent message. Did I? Is that what I did, Nikki? Because that seemed like lots have happened since then.
That's okay.
But we see our staff, they go all day without a prep, because not only they sometimes have a duty, but most of the time they're covering for each other because of illness, because of whatever. but mainly because of, we're short. And some days we have one or two, but, I think it's really important for you all to be aware that, that's, again, not allowing our staff that breather, that 48 minutes or 45 minutes or 30 minutes by the time they go to the bathroom and get back to their classroom. So they don't even have that some days. But again, we neighbors, friends, relatives, retired folks, we'll take them.
And the subbing, is that required to be here for a full day, or can you do part days,
You
half
could do
days?
half days. Yep, half day or full
Couple
day.
hours?
Mhm.
Yep, just making sure. Okay.
You.
Mhm.
Any other, yes, Brandon, go for it.
So while I am thankful that we're able to have Wendy go to the middle school, I worry that there are, what about the students that Wendy was helping? Like, how is that being addressed to give those students supports who might not have those supports?
I think it's, and we can talk about it, but
I could jump in there.
Yeah, I'm just like, I feel like we're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
We are seeing slightly larger sizes, rather than having like a tier 3 or one-on-one. We're having a few groups, a few students meet with her. What we're finding is that there were more kids at the lower percentiles at middle school, whereas we were serving kids, above the 25th percentile. That's in theory a good thing. That means that our curriculum and our educators are getting through the kids and they're getting it. There just hasn't been a person, due to the master schedule, due to things that are beyond our control that we're working on to fix, to address that need in grade 5 and 6. So, and we're trying to build some capacity there too for some other interventions that maybe aren't as dependent on a person but are more automated. So, creative solution.
Is it possible that community members could help with like, I know we're not.
We do have some foster grandparents, which is a little bit of a misnomer, but they work through Lutheran Social Services to come in and read with kids. We got Grandma Barb, Grandma Nancy. We've got some volunteers that help read with kids. Volunteers are awesome, but they're not necessarily every single day on schedule. That's one of the roadblocks to counting on volunteers to do intervention.
And Brandon, just an FYI, part of Wendy's schedule was also that she was to serve non-publics, because that's part of the title program. And currently, we don't have any students in the non-publics who need to be serviced by her. So it's really replacing some of the hours that she would have been for the kids at Cruci or Pete's, that kind of thing. So there's a little bit of that in there too.
and although there are needs, ADSES is very specific to the percentile of where students are. So I hear what the elementary is saying when they're worried about the behaviors, goes back to that tier 2. There's so many more kids in tier 2 that are not, identified as special ed or have those gaps that did not come. It just got bigger, and we're doing what we can, but ADSES is very specific to the percentile. And reading is better focused, so that is where I'm like, Jeff, is there any, and that's how that landed where it did.
Any other questions? You said Grandma Barb. She
She
read to my daughter
I know.
21 years ago.
I know.
Fantastic for Grandma Barb.
She's amazing.
She is a legend. Yes, she is. So, fantastic to hear that. Oh, yes.
Does Wendy go to the middle school just one day a week? Is that what you said?
1 hour a day.
1 hour a day. Okay.
Okay. Elementary school update.
Full disclosure, I paid none of these people to be here tonight. They're here because they are feeling that there are needs that we have in our building. We talked about it at length in our full staff meeting today. I've asked them for their input. They are giving of their time tonight to be here because of the needs that they feel every day. And I think it needs to be known that, just a couple years ago, we had 20 classroom teachers. We're now at 17. And that's a 15% reduction, but we have not lost 50 students. The students we do have need us even more every day, and that's what we're feeling. You see a behavior report every month that shows the incidents that are referred to me, office referrals. That is accurate. That is what is being referred to the office. They are handling tens of thousands more incidents than that. And that's why they're here tonight. There are things that I continue to work on to be a better, more effective leader for them. They are counting on me being their voice tonight as well. And I try to amplify the positive as much as I possibly can. That's kind of who I am as a person. But it's not by happenstance that they're here tonight. They need you to know, I need you to know that we're feeling like it's been more than just that 15%. And we understand that there is not a limitless budget. Nobody here is advocating that we go into SOD to hire a teacher. That is not the point. We are advocating for what we're feeling. We are expressing that we need as much as we can possibly afford as early as possible, because the return on that investment is real, from early childhood all the way through 4th grade. And that's my job, to amplify what you're seeing and hearing tonight, in addition to showing fun pictures about what's going on. So I'm trying to walk that line between being real and giving you something positive as well, which you'll see in the report, and explaining that, yeah, we do prepare kids for our April exams. We do. And yet I walk that line of putting too fine a point on it, because it's one day in time. They don't get a mulligan, which if they're goofing around on Fastbridge, they might. So there are things about that that I think came to light tonight that I appreciate that you're aware of. That we bust our butts every day to help kids take it seriously, but also not put too much pressure on that one day in time or 1 week in April. And we make decisions based on the screenings that we do throughout the school year. Those screenings are showing bigger needs than that discipline report shows. And that's my job, to amplify that feeling so that you can hear it as well tonight. So I hope I captured that, but the rest of my report is there for you to ask questions or
Jeff, how
clarify.
many grades are operating in 3 sections right now?
There are 3.
K through 3rd, right?
Of our building, we have 4 sections in kindergarten currently and in 2nd grade currently.
Thank you for that.
And while I'm on a roll, when you're managing your building and you're short subs, I am guilty of putting pressure on my 4 sections that, yep, we're gonna have to break into 3. That's not an option for 3/5 of our school. That puts further pressure on staff to get creative. I'll sub if I can help out, our specialists, we get creative. But you're also hearing they're burning out because there is nobody to come in. We can't break into 2 sections for 3/5 of our building. So they feel that pressure that I can't take a day. I've got to make sub plans. That's not an option for 3/5 of our building.
So you need, or the request was for 4 sections for 1 and 3, it's not for K through 4. It's 4 sections already being provided for K and 2.
We understand that there's not a limitless and that, and I'm very transparently with my staff. We got 58 students we probably can't afford, to have 4 sections. But I don't know. I've got more work to do on that. We've got to continue to get students in our building, welcome them, make them feel successful. And that's what you're hearing, is they do that every single day to help meet kids' needs, and it's taxing.
Darcy, did you have another question?
Yeah, so the data that she talked about that they compiled, are you gonna be bringing that to us?
Yeah, that, I just became aware of it like an hour or 2 ago.
Yeah.
So we just had it at our meeting, yeah. And I do have to meet, and I'm gonna have meetings with Mindy about this, so those are coming, those administrative level meetings, but I'd be remiss if I didn't champion for my people.
Can I throw something out there from a student who has been here preschool through 12th grade in the district? Yes, like Ms. Reese said, the high school, middle school, we also have issues with bigger classes. But the elementary school is quite literally the foundation of this district. In my English class recently, we have a paper as seniors, we're already looking back on our education. And time again, actually without fail, in every single paper, our teachers came up. Mr. Steffes, Ms. Reese, Ms. Sebo, we had Ms. Kroner, Ms. Dahman, just all the teachers that we had come up in that. And if they can't put their, I don't know how to word this, but if they can't create a healthy learning environment, or if that is prevented from having too many students and that can't be put there, it's gonna have an effect long-term through high school too. Because that environment that they created for all their students, it has such a positive effect on us. Like, we still remember things we did, and we still remember the teachers and how they made us feel, and how they were able to cultivate relationships with us and stuff like that. So this is an issue that will affect all the way through high school. And I just wanted to put that out there because there are amazing teachers. You want to keep those teachers because it's a kind of touchy subject, maybe, but high school, we've lost quite a few teachers since my freshman year, and that does have an effect on the students too. And we're high schoolers. I can imagine what effect that would have on the elementary school students at such a young age. They need that stability, especially from their teachers. So, just wanted to put that out there.
Thank
Good job, thank you.
Any other questions for Element? Thank you, Jeff. Community education.
That was awesome, Reagan.
Oh, thanks.
Thank
Well done. Your teachers back here, you can't see them, but they're all smiling their heads off at you. Yes. So yeah, we've had to look back at this. It has been, 2 weeks ago that I wrote this, but we are finished with our summer kids company registration. We now have, when I wrote the report, we had 182 kids registered. We now we're at like 228 kids registered for summer. And as of today, we currently have 42 4K students signed up and 28 3K students signed up for next year. So we are cooking. Let's see, I had my first meeting with our new summer park and rec staff that are coming over from working under John for years, and we were able to keep about 2/3 of them, and they were a great group of kids. They're ready and raring to go. We've got our catalog time frame is fast tracked a little bit, so we can get that out sooner, and we'll have our summer registration sign up coming up the morning of prom, mostly because our new aquatics director graduates on the day that we were gonna pick, but anyway. And one of the biggest things we've had some of our large events. We had the superhero sun dance, and there's photos down below. You can scroll down for that, Mandy. That was a huge success. We had over 120 people there. Next large event is this Saturday. We've got the March Madness, so the indoor garage sales partnership with the junior class officers. So come on by Saturday morning, 8:30 to 12:30 to shop in the middle school gym. And the daughter dance will be happening on April 5th. And big news from this week is thank you to my fantastic early childhood coordinator, Karin Schwartzoff. We had Jean Poppy here this week, who was the regional representative from U.S. Senator Tina Smith's office. So she came to tour Discovery Preschool and learn about how we built the program that we have today. So it was a wonderful tour, and about an hour and a half we spent with her. So that was a great people to have come and visit and advocate at the federal level for working together in rural communities to do great things for young kids.
Questions? Juliet?
Good job, thank you.
Everybody else got questions, really? Come on.
Oh, moving on, Pat?
No questions, please.
Pat does not like questions, by the way, so.
Last month I forgot to introduce Cindy Mellinger, our middle school custodian. She's on second shift. So she's welcome her if you see her. April 1st, the first week of April, we are starting up the chillers here at this building. I think they're gonna be on site, I think April 1st. We're gonna plan on starting those up. We finally got temporary permit for the softball concession stand. That'll go through, we can actually use the concession stand until the last home softball game, whether that be a regular season or playoff. So that, got that done. We got some HVAC units finally updated in our lockout tagouts. The seat field press box is under state review. They got some 25, I think he said this morning, like 25 points back, or 25 questions that the Louisa Brothers gotta get back to him on an answer. Nothing real big. Bathroom up project. Not really an update quite yet. Soon, I hope. And the last one is we're receiving capital requests. I'm currently working with the furniture vendor and putting together a Google Drive so we can kind of standardize all the furniture and stuff through the district to help staff kind of budget if they want something for the classrooms in the future. So I think that's going to be a big help. But yeah, that's about all I got.
And that should also standardize what we're purchasing throughout the district, so that if we get in a situation where we have to swap out desks or things, then we can do that without them looking hodgepodge.
Any questions for Pat?
I do have a question.
Oh. Pat?
So it's just a logistic, like, how does it end up on the state route? Like, how does that happen?
Like the press box?
Yeah, like that.
Well, the architect's gotta put together a plan, and then they gotta send it to the state, so they review it.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'm just super naive about that.
Good question.
That's the only one we get. All right. Terry is at a conference, so activity director's update is posted for your enjoyment. Questions? Nope. All right. Mindy, superintendent update.
And I am just gonna say, as presented, I've talked to many of you during the weeks up until now. I strongly encourage any of the teachers who are here to go in and look at that, because there are some legislative impact pieces in there that you can see what's going, what we're going forward with. And I do wanna do one call out, and that is to the PTO. Our elementary PTO did a fabulous Books Are Fun activity, and we had a ton of people there. It was a great time. The butcher shop helped with the food and gave Mandy a heart attack because they sold out within the first half hour. So
That's a good problem.
so it's a good problem to have, but, yes, just a lot of thanks to the PTO for all of the things that they do to help celebrate our teachers.
Okay. Any questions? Okay.
I'd like to point out that Kate, I'm sorry to interrupt here, but Kate Thompson kind of led the charge of that.
Yeah. I'm glad you did that, John. She's sitting in my blind spots.
Yeah.
You're over there.
Thank you. Education Minnesota, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Godspeed.
I'll try and be as quick as I can. Okay, so we got Discovery Pre-K, the elementary school highlighted a lot for Read Across America Week, for reading as well as getting outside, being in the sunshine and playing. Next up, we got first grade, the teachers did a fantastic job. I saw a lot on Facebook for doing the bringing the books to life. This is the rainbow fish that first grade did. And then
And fourth grade.
and fourth grade. So first grade and fourth grade combined. Awesome. Let's see. Now we got second grade. They got to go on a Grove Garden field trip. So when I was looking at these before I left my house, I was like, that looks beautiful. I want to go there sometime. Is that in La Crosse?
Yeah.
No, Western.
Good to know. Okay. And then I think it was Heather that highlighted the eighth grade going over to visit with second grade. I know that eighth grade's going back this Friday to go in with the third graders. And they're very excited about that. And then there's a small photo of the second grade teachers dressing up as Pinkalicious. So that's cool. And then next we got second and fourth grade music. Second grade has been working on steps, skips, and repeats. And fourth grade has been working on playing chords to accompany a song. For art, we got second and third graders working with clay, keeping it nice and messy. And for third grade, we got more teachers dressing up for bringing books to life. They also got to go on the Grove Garden field trip. And then for last month, the students of the month, it looks like kindness was what was the spotlight for the students. So these are the kiddos that got highlighted for student of the month K through fourth grade. And then Miss Bangura, she is our lovely speech pathologist that is going to be leaving at the end of the school year. And she works so hard to work on students' communication skills. She has almost 30 plans between the elementary, middle, and high school for students to work on their communication skills, their sense of pride, behavior management, personal responsibility, and just encouraging mental well-being for students. So I like seeing the kids walking around and watering plants all the time. She does a really good job with that. Next up, we got fifth grade. Leslie Pellinger, they did composite area people. They got to work in teams to come up with a character of their choice and find the area of a cat or a dog or whatever they had for a person. They're now working on their volume project, so stay tuned for that. That's exciting. Next up in fifth grade as well, we have science. They did an experiment working with testing 6 different samples of pH. And Miss B does a lot of experiments and the kids love it, so she does a fantastic job. As for math team, the middle school and high school have a math team. Middle school placed 6th place in the Three Rivers division. High school placed 4th place, and one of the high school students placed in the top 10. They got 5th place. And they also have a math peer tutoring. I think Miss Potts, did she set that up?
Yeah, it's been around for a number of years now. It's Tuesdays and Thursdays during Flex, and it's typically a lot of pre-calculus students who are volunteering their time, not necessarily every time, but typically multiple times a month where they're going in and they are tutoring anyone who feels like they need help in a math class. And that was, they started a few years ago just because a lot of times in math you need someone one-on-one or in a very small group to assist you and help through. One of our peer tutors is sitting a little bit over there, but it's a great experience. It strengthens for the student in the upper end math class that, you know, I really have to know it really well to explain it to someone else. And it helps out those students who really need that extra help quite a bit. So it happens twice a week, pretty much all year long. They usually wait about a month at the start of the year before they get it going, but it's a huge piece. So.
And lastly, we have Cupcake Wars that our PACS teacher Rachel put on for the kids. I think Heather and Jacob both were judges, maybe? Maybe just Jacob.
That's a good gig. I should have been.
I think I saw Jacob's name.
They wanted me to take that. So.
Did they win?
They did win their class.
They don't tell me anything.
Did they even bring home a cupcake?
No.
Did they
I remember correctly, Jacob's one of the most difficult judges on Sparta.
Yeah.
Well,
No, you really don't, but anyway. Don't need Gordon Ramsay in the school. Well, I don't know, but I'm like, they're all great cupcakes. Anyway,
Hell's Kitchen Lancer style.
was that the end? I'm sorry, we jumped in there at the end of the cupcakes. Thank you for having it at the end. Any questions? Okay. Informational items, the budget update.
All right, I think I'll just save my time just to go over revised budget. Is that now or is that later?
That's later.
Oh, so we don't want that yet. Okay. You can open.
Do you want me to go to this
Okay,
still?
I'll let you just ask this. Anybody have any questions about, because that was a couple weeks ago, so you probably have all looked at any questions on it? No? Okay, then I'm gonna save my time because I have more to talk about at revised budget time. All right? If you have questions, let me know. Perfect.
Thank you.
Yep.
We're gonna skip the balance sheet.
Yep.
Enrollment.
What's a good word?
We're down a few.
This is where you can see those numbers for those elementary school fund sources.
Did you guys ever figure out for that 29 that was like a Infinite Campus issue? So
That's why I left it red.
do we really know what it is? Was it 19 or?
We can probably go back and pull the numbers now that Infinite Campus is pulling correctly. I can do that for next month.
Okay. Moving on with student behavior. Questions? Okay, moving on from student behavior. Updates to policy, first read.
Okay, so there are quite a few in here.
You think?
Yeah, it was a lot. Huh?
There was a lot there.
It was a lot. It's a lot. But as I went through, some of these hadn't been redone since 2004. So, I mean, there's some substantial work that needs to be done there. What we're gonna be doing is, I'm gonna try and put together I will put together for the second read, the red lines, so you can see where those red lines are and what they look like. And we'll leave in, one of the other things that was brought to my attention was leaving in anything that was Lancer specific or the Crescent Hoka specific. And so then we'll just add to that. And so I'm looking for someone who has really good technical skills that can show me how to merge two Google documents into one, so it'll show me the red lines. And I think I have a friend that knows how to do that. But that's basically what we're looking at there.
Again, first read, so let's come back again for the second read, so we have time if we haven't got through all of them.
Yeah.
Get comfy, there's a lot in it.
Yeah, I just asked that you add back all the Lancer specific details.
Yeah.
From the previous ones.
No questions on that? Moving to the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Move to approve by Darcy, seconded by Nikki. Discussion.
Those are some big numbers in our retirements.
They were.
I had Barb.
To recognize Barb Bjornstead here for 35 years and Deb Pronowski here for 31 years. So, thank you to that.
Big shoes to fill.
All those in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda passes. Action items. We'll take these one by one, I guess, for the calendar. Looking at action item A for the 25-26 school calendar.
What is that blue document or blue
Everyone asks me when Easter is,
Okay.
so that's Easter on each of the years, because I never remember it when I'm sitting here at the table.
Yeah, Easter always moves, that confuses me. So, all right.
Move to approve.
Seconded by Dan. All those in favor of action item A for the 25-26 school calendar signify by saying aye. Aye. Energetic. Opposed, same sign. Action item A passes. Action item B, 26-27 school calendar.
Move to approve.
Nikki moves to approve.
I'll second again.
Danny will second. Any discussion?
Now,
All,
this one, do we have us
Yes, this one is starting, or no, you need to move to the next calendar.
Yep, I'm
This one starts before that, so this will have to be, we'll have to get approval at the state level. But if we have the board supporting it, then we can take it and do the public meetings. But that is the only way we did, between Greener and myself and Amanda Nicolati, we put surveys out to the staff and got great responses. And so what we tried to do with this is reflect what they wanted. And it was pretty resounding that people wanted to be out as early as they could the end of May and really didn't even want to go the first week in June. So we did everything we could to try and arrange that.
And if I looked ahead at these next two, correct, you have a spring break in both of them?
Yes. Yes. And the third year, when we go to that one, we did something else that parents have asked for and that staff has asked for. It just happened that it worked out that year. We put a week of spring break in between the basketball and the spring sports season. So that's off of the season for Easter because people have requested that so that they can get cheaper plane tickets if they're gonna fly somewhere or do something like that. And then we still have 2 days off.
So
on
the
either side of Easter.
25-26 calendar, I'm just seeing 3 days. Is that considered spring break?
There's 2 on the next week too.
Are you on the 25 or 26 or the 26 and 27?
I'm 25-26.
We're past that one.
You guys approved that?
We already went past.
Yeah, we're.
Right, I just had a question about it.
Oh.
So is it, there's no spring break 25-26?
Because we're starting after Labor Day.
that is correct.
But then 26-27.
So if you look for families, you'd have like 5 days in March because the 12th is a teacher day. And then you've got the 13th and the 16th, so that, put that around the weekend. And that's a 5-day break there. And we tried to have them work out as best we could to keep that getting done at the right time.
Any questions on the 26-27? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Action item B passes. The 27-28 school calendar.
Motion to approve.
Nikki.
Second.
Darcy second. Any discussion on 27-28 school calendar?
For the spring break on that one, that one's earlier, is that the same?
Yep, so you'll look at March. And I put the 6th through the 12th, or 10th. I'm pretty sure that that's the week between sports, but I also put the no sports week next to it, so that you know the intention when we get to there is to go that midweek.
Any other questions, discussion?
Does that conflict with the flag?
I don't know.
They usually pick the dates a little bit later. Yeah, so they would pick it if we knew it was spring break.
Then they wouldn't pick that time, I would imagine.
Because they set the point typically.
Any other questions? All those in favor of action item C for the 27-28 school calendar signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Action item C passes. We have an action item to bring forward with the
Technical updates.
technical updates. Is that item E?
Yeah, it would be item E there, so if you act on that one first, then Julie can have the time to talk budget right afterwards.
Okay. Action item for tech updates and action item E. Motion,
Move to approve.
move to approve. Is there a second?
A second?
Okay. Discussion on this, so we know what we're approving here.
So there's a lot of technical updates that need to be done to the policies from MSBA. A lot of those are just simple changes of words, statute number changes, with references on the bottom, that type of stuff. So we are giving them approval at the district office to go ahead and make all those without bringing them to us. As long as they're keeping all of the
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah, some of it's just even formatting, so.
Okay.
Yep.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign.
I'm sorry, Wade. Can you who motioned and who seconded?
Nikki.
Revised budget. We'll have the talk first, then we'll talk at the action.
All right, you can make it a tiny bit bigger. First thing I want to point out is all the way at the bottom, if you want to go to all the way to the bottom. So you'll see that very bottom total all funds is much, much larger than the adopted budget. That is purely from the construction dollars all being used this year. And so when we do our adopted budget, that has to be done in June, state mandate, have ready for July 1st. And so that was, the audit wasn't done, all the, exactly what was gonna be spent, which year wasn't done, so that number wasn't truly reflected, which budgets, of course, are estimates. So that large number down there is mostly made up by the construction budget, so I just wanna point that out. Other notes that I do wanna talk about on, this revised budget are, so from adopted to revised, again, remember the adopted was done in June. And so some of these things will change just normally as we go through the beginning of the school year, just unknowns, and some will change because of plans that we have made. So in the general fund, our expenses from adopted to revised have increased by 215,000. Our revenue decreased by 64,000. So there's a total decrease in the general fund of $279,680, which is an overall decrease of a little over that 279,680. The school lunch fund, the expenses increased by about 98,000 and the revenue increased about 188,000, which is a total increase in the school foods funds of 90,000. But overall, from the beginning to revise, it's a $25,000 increase. Community education, the expenses from the adopted to the revised increased by 140,000 and the revenue increased by 3,000. So the total decrease in community ed is a little over 137,000. The total overall decrease in community ed is a little over 190,000. The construction fund, the expenses increased by 4.4 million, a little over than that. And of course, our revenue did not increase at all because we did not bring any other dollars in FY25. So the total increase in expenses from adopted to revised is 4.4 million, but the total overall increase in the cost is 5.3 million. For debt service fund, which again is going to be every other year, 1 year you go up, 1 year you will go down, our expenses increased from adopted to revised by about 37,000. Our revenue decreased by about 82,000. So the total decrease in our debt service fund is 119,000, which at adopted was 0. So then that is also the overall decrease of 119,000. So the grand total deficit from adopted to revised is 4.9 million, a little over, but the total overall decrease again is 5.9 million. So a few things to talk about besides just throwing out those numbers. So per state and audit regulations, we will need to make a general fund transfer this year in FY25 to cover the deficit spending of Fund 4 which is gonna be roughly about 247,000. So that will need to come from our general fund to replace into Fund 4. This will bring our undesignated or unassigned fund balance down from 700,000 to about 465,000. That is the lowest that it has been in a while, but that is a state and a audit regulation that we will have to do that this year. General fund expense increases, just give you a few examples. We have non-reimbursable Minnesota student placements of about 15,000. Liability insurance went up about 10,000. Technology, hardware, and software went up about 70,000. Legal fees about 20,000. Increased staffing costs about 67,000, and increased benefit costs for the staffing about 22,000. The general fund revenues decreased. The levy was about 10,000 less, and interest about $65,000 less. In Fund 4, our revenue decreases were the community ed levy of about 63,000. Our expense increases in Fund 4, professional services and supplies about 22,000, increased staffing costs about 39,000, benefits to the staffing about 12,000. I would like to do a second revision in May for another look at where expenses are sitting for additional budget planning that is already occurring. And things that we need to remember, some of them might take effect, some of them might not. Some might take effect in 26, some might take effect in 27. But we need to remember this as we're doing this next revised budget for 25 are the things that are out there, which I know Mindy has already talked about. Possible reductions are reduction in 5% of SPED transportation aid, SPED cross subsidy aid reduction, summer unemployment aid ending, but the cost will still occur. The state could tell us we could levy for it, but of course we know what that means. If we levy, it hurts our taxpayers. Paid state FMLA leave at 44% employer cost. Total is 0.88%, but 0.44 is covered by the employee, 0.44 is covered by the employer. TRA increase, that's the Teachers Retirement Association, is going to be an increase to employers by 0.75%. QComp aid ending FY 2027, compensatory aid reduction, literacy aid reduction, school library aid reduction, and some of these you're going to hear and say, wait a minute, they just gave us unfunded mandates for those and now they're taking it away? Yes, they are. That's a possibility. Telecommunications equity aid reduction. I remind us again about those topics because we need to right size in all areas constantly. We have a larger deficit again this year than planned, and our undesignated, unassigned dollars are shrinking at a quick pace. Again, our total decrease to our general fund undesignated, unassigned dollars is going to be $526,635, with a little over $279 coming from general fund, and then the transfer we'll have to make to community ed of about $247,000.
I just had a question. So because we have some new members on the board.
Yes.
Could you just give a high level overview of what staffing fees are coming out of what fund? Does that make sense? Like we are designated certain funds for certain things. So people understand we can't just buy a new teacher. We can't just buy a new.
Absolutely. So we have undesignated dollars in the general fund and we have restricted dollars in the general fund. So last year, 2 years ago, when the state said historic dollars to education, the part that wasn't really emphasized was those were mandated dollars we had to spend certain ways, and those are called restricted dollars. So if you go to the very top, Mandy, you can see the unassigned fund balance, and then you can see, and it says 712 projected balance, and I said that number, but then I said we needed to take 200 some off. That doesn't show that yet, but we will have to do that at audit time. Then you see the restricted, so staff development, your capital, learning and development, gifted and talented basic skills, safe schools levy. Those are state mandated restricted funds, and we can only spend the dollars we get in those specific ways. And then below that are assigned funds. So that is your school district planning for the future. What do we need to build up a balance to buy curriculum, to keep the curriculum updated in the classrooms? Are we going to need another vehicle? Is there any technology purchases or instructional technology purchases? So that could be software, that could be teacher laptops, that could be kiddo laptops, that could be any type of software or hardware in any parts of the school. Capital would be any type of a purchase that's over $5,000. They just upped it to $10,000, but we want to say $5,000 here. And then facilities, anything that needs to be done to our facility. So those are assigned funds that we are directly putting dollars in to save for the future. So we have pots of money to be able to do that when, like Pat talked about, a capital project sheet. Okay, so requests come in, how are we gonna spend it? Well, we get some money from the state, but then we also have some pots of money that we're assigning to that to be able to use those dollars towards that. Food service fund then, O2, is a restricted fund. The only thing that can go in and out of Fund 2 is something for food service. All your salaries, your benefits, your food, your supplies, your equipment, things you may think of like lunch tables. Nope, they won't let that come out of a lunch fund account. Why not? Because it's the state. It doesn't make sense, but that's something they won't let come out. New flooring in the kitchen. Well, it's part of your lunch fund, right? Nope, they won't let you take that out of the kitchen fund either. So things that you would think you could get out of there, you actually can't. So that's a restricted fund with more restrictions than you actually think should be there. Community services, that's gonna be your community education, your early childhood, and you can go down a little bit, Mandy. Your school readiness, your preschool, and then any before or after school programs. And that is also restricted funds. So any salaries for any of your before age 5, non-special education, or preschool, if they're 5 but they're preschool age, those can all come out of Fund 4. But we can't take anything else out of there. So we can't fund a kindergarten teacher out of there. We can't fund a first grade teacher out of there because that's not a part of community education. Construction fund, those are dollars that go just for the construction progress. Debt service, those are any of the debts that we have. We get money in from our levy and we get money in from the state. Like your act school dollars that the farmers see a reduction on their property taxes, that comes in as state money, that's gonna go into debt service. So any payments we have that account there to pay back those payments. So that's why it's in and out. 1 year, you're gonna have a little bit more, but then the next year, we're gonna make those payments. So that's why it's kind of an up and down thing. And then the OPEB, irrevocable trust, and debt service down below, those are dollars that we can use only if we add a new item into a master agreement for retirement. And it has to be sunset. It can't be like a never-ending thing. It can be, we're going to offer this year, anyone from here to here, this many years of service, if you want to take this, we'll offer incentive, like health insurance or something like that to be paid out for so many years, but then there's a sunset clause on it. And that's the only way you can use that money. It's really hard to use. Most districts have a balance there from years ago when it was okay to have a balance, but now there's so many restrictions you can hardly use the money. So any of your staff is mostly coming out of general fund. There are specific staff, we get student support services aid, and though that money again was a mandate that said you can get this money, but you can't use it on any social worker you've had in the district, any guidance counselor you have in the district, any nurse you have in the district. But if you hire somebody brand new, we'll let you use it. But it can't be this person retires and now you have a new person. Nope, if you had one, now you have 2, we'll pay. But if you only have 1, we won't pay, so we won't give you the money. So it's those kind of restrictions that are just really too bad that school districts have to deal with. But is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I really wanted that school support services money, that was a limited amount. to-
40,000.
It was only 40,000, so you can't buy a whole person.
Nope, only 40,000.
With 40,000, and that's like the library support money was
Correct.
40,000.
Yep.
And now there'll be cuts to that too, so.
Yes, correct. Suggested possible cuts.
Yes.
And do we cut a check to community ed every year?
We do not. This will be the first year in many.
First year
I
since
thought
I've
we
worked
always
here.
ran
Yeah.
in agreement. What happened?
Many things. Julie and I and Medea have been working together on, you're gonna see a different number, less of it, based on our second revision that we're going to be doing. So the number won't be quite as bad, but we did add the 5th section of 4K now for 2 years running. So that's a full-time teacher and para that were added to the payroll as well. We had to increase some other people's time because we didn't have staff available to do, early childhood screening and some of the other things that people have been able to do before when we had less students. So, but we've gone through program by program and we've made a plan for even things that'll hit yet this year, such as June is one of our biggest months with Kids Company. So we have a different staffing model all built up, which that'll be hard to quantify in the revised budget, but when it actually hits at audit time, I am pretty confident it'll look better than what we even come up with in our revision. So it's not just what happened one thing, it's many things, but divided out per program.
And just a shout out to Julie and to each of the principals and program coordinators. They have done an amazing job getting together and looking at where can we conserve money? Where can we take, what can we do? How can we right size in other areas so that we have more funds that can be dedicated to staff? Because staffing is generally always the largest, absolutely the largest, like 80 to 85% easily of what your budget is.
One more question, and it's kind of off topic for budget, but do we know what we have for kindergarten projections for next year right now? I know in your report you said you're ahead.
39 that are signed. That's more than what it's been in recent years. I don't anticipate that it's going to be 80 or,
We've been hovering in the high 60s though, right? Haven't we?
We did much better last year than 2 years ago. I'm hopeful that we'll be in that similar zone where it's going to be above the 50s, which is something we don't want to see. But I don't have anything that I can say, here's how I'm guessing that. But
Sure.
we've got people working hard on getting people signed up.
Right now, we
There's
actually
48 kids coming from 4K going right into kindergarten, so we already know we have that many.
we have 45 currently registered now.
So, and then the other thing we're working on is doing enrollment projections. And that's difficult to do in this area because our babies in La Crescent and Hoka are born out of state for the most part. So we have to track them down in Wisconsin to try and figure out what the birth rate actually is, some of those things. But we are we're trying to set that up so we'll have a nice 5-year projection of how many kids are actually out there.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Appreciate it.
All right. Motion to approve the revised budget.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Nikki, seconded by Danny to approve the fiscal year 25 revised budget. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Darcy seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.